Hello, welcome to Speaking from Water, episode 19. I am with the very special Maria Fernanda, and we are on the Speaking from Water show, where we deliver the top water professionals in the world, from water photographers to big wave surfers to lifeguard athletes. And I'm very excited to have Maria with me today. She is just an outstanding artist out of Porto Escondido. And if you haven't checked her out on Instagram, please do. Her work is absolutely incredible. Her swimming abilities in big ocean surf are just unparalleled on planet Earth, really. So with that said, Maria, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. So how are you doing today, and how are the waves?
I'm good. I'm actually in the city right now. I was in Puerto until 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago.
So do you kind of spend your summers in Porto capturing your images, and then when the season's over, you move on?
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. If I do have work before that, I go, for the few days that I have work, and then I come back. Right now, my base is in Mexico City, which, it's pretty landlocked, but then it's easier to travel from here to other places. So exactly what you said. I usually spend the summers in Puerto, shoot there, and then I move for the next place for the winter season. So right now, in 2 weeks, I'm heading to Europe.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Where in Europe are you going?
Spain and Portugal.
Incredible. How's that looking for you? Is it a mainly photo trip, or are you going to go see family?
Well, I'll go visit my brother, but then yes, I am shooting the coast. So the big wave spots in Spain, which they are not very consistent. I've never seen the waves, work over there. So this trip, I really hope I can get, some of the big wave spots working. And then Portugal, I've been in Nazaré before, Super Tubos, so I'm heading there again, and hopefully I'll get good condition and waves.
Epic. So how was your summer?
It was good. It started really good. We had a couple big swells in May, and we thought it was going to be an amazing year, or like an amazing season. And honestly, it wasn't. It wasn't very consistent. There was not many big swells, and then the ones that we had, they were not clean. So that was a bit of a bummer. But then again, that's surf,
Yeah,
you sometimes score and sometimes you get, skunked. So
totally can't control it. So I want to get a little bit into your history here. You came into surf photography in your early 20s, as I understand, coming from like a business background. How did you decide to leave a world of I guess supposed security, as they say, into the deep unknown?
Well, I always had a passion for photography, and I actually asked my parents, told my parents, I want to go into photography. And my dad, especially, he was like, no. I have parents that grew up in the city, so it's like this seated mindset, and it was just like too crazy for them to imagine that. But I did grew up swimming. I was a swimmer most of my life. So since I was 7, I was a competitive swimmer. And I think that gave me, like the swimming part, and like the passion for the water. So after I graduated, that I traveled to Hawaii, that's when I discovered, it's like, oh, I can, mix the swimming part with the photography part, that both of them I liked separate, and but I still didn't see it as an option for a career. So I started doing surf photography. I learned from this surf photographer and videographer named Peter Sterling. He's from Maui. Well, he used to shoot in Maui a lot of windsurfers. And he kind of taught me the basics, you know. It's like I knew how to swim, but I didn't know about the ocean. So he taught me currents and positioning and, you know, like some things that you need to know that if you're not from the ocean or you did not grow up by the ocean, it's like a different world. And then I just started hanging out with a lot of bodyboarders from Hawaii, and I kind of just learned from them. You know, it's like they would take me to their secret spots, and they were like, "Well, you can wait at the beach, or you can swim out with us." So I was like, well, "I'm definitely not waiting at the beach." So they would just like give me a pair of fins, and I would just swim out with them and wait for them in the channel. So that kind of like threw me into that, you know, like world. And then when I like combined both of them, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I saw like other people doing it for a living. Even though it's not, like you said, it's not a very safe economically career as it would have been, you know, stayed in the city and just do something normal, you know. But it's been so rewarding, and I like it's opened this endless world of possibilities, and it just like has provided me the opportunity to visit the world through it, you know, and know this new, I don't know, I think it's just changes your mind, opens your mind in another level. If you're coming from a city, you know, like everything's planned, you know, like you just follow the steps and you do this and you follow the crowd and you do. So it's been amazing for me. Definitely a roller coaster.
Sounds like just an epic experience you've put yourself in and on. And tell me a little bit more about well, how you decided to go to Hawaii, and did you know anyone there? And then how did you meet Peter? Peter's a for those who don't know, a very OG original, and his work's incredible. He's one of the pioneers of surf photography. So you were very lucky to meet him. How did you meet him? And then how did you build and form that relationship?
Okay, so well, the first time I went to Hawaii, I've never been before, you know. So I graduated from college, and I remember I looked for work for a year, and I couldn't find anything, you know. And so my mom actually was one that was like, "Why don't you go volunteer to Hawaii? You know, you always had this fascination for surf culture, and there's this organization that's called Surfing the Nation in Oahu." So I was like, okay, yeah. So I applied, I volunteered there for 3 months. And in that time, that's when I met Piper Llewellyn, who back in the day was like a bodyboarder. Well, I mean, he's still a bodyboarder, but before, you know, he was more in the competitive, and you know, he was doing it more often. And
Yeah, I'm sorry to
he was
interrupt.
one of
What year was this? Just for context.
2012, I think it was, or 2011.
And you said you're on Oahu.
Yes, I was in Oahu. So there, Piper was the one that told Peter, like, so Peter was already looking, which this doesn't happen often, you know. It's like in the surf industry, I feel like it's a very egocentric culture, and no one is just gonna help you out of hand, especially not a girl that has nothing to do with the ocean. But Peter was like looking to mentor someone, or like to pass along what he knew, and he used to hang out a lot where we were volunteering. And so Piper told Peter, "Is like, oh, there's a girl that's a swimmer, maybe she can learn, you know." And so that's how he introduced me to Peter. And then Peter talked to me and was like, "Well, you gotta be serious about those things, you know." It's like, he told me like, "Well, this is a very dangerous, you know, thing to do. You cannot just come and do it because, oh yeah, it sounds fun. Like if you are gonna do this, you have to commit." And I was like, yeah. And I'm very competitive. So I was like, okay, he's doubting me, you know, so I have to prove that I can do this. And I remember he told me, he's like, "Well, and you're a girl, so are you sure you want to do this? Like, this is dangerous. You could die." I was like, yeah. Like the fact that he told me, like, "You're a girl, are you sure you're gonna do it?" I was like, huh, I'm gonna prove him I'm gonna do it, you know. So it helped, because that just pushed me. I was like, yeah, I'm serious about this. So I actually came back to Mexico City, worked for 5 months, saved some money, and went back in the winter because that was summer.
Okay.
So I came back to Mexico to save money and then go back in the winter, because that's when he was like, okay, if you're gonna come.
At this
Sorry.
point, we were going to, I apologize to interrupt. This is when you were like, now I'm going to get the camera. Now I'm going to get the water housing.
No, actually not. He's like, just come back and I'll teach you. And I was like, okay, do I need to get something? He's like, no, no worries. He actually got me, or he told me to buy one of those disposable cameras that they sell at the, I don't know, 7-Eleven or something like that. The ones that you develop and it's just one use and you throw them away. And he's like, if you can take good photos with this camera, you can take good photos with any camera. So that's what we did, so I bought one of those and that's how I started. And I remember like, you have to wait to develop them. And it's like, okay, not that bad. And no, it was actually, that was this winter. And then next summer I went back to Hawaii. And then I had met Bethany Hamilton, because she was friends, or she grew up with my friend Piper, who was a bodyboarder. And so they invited me to do the swim of the Nepali coast in their island, Kauai. And she's like, hey, we're doing this swim for 3 days. Do you want to come? I know you're a swimmer. Maybe you can join us. I'm just going to swim with my other friend. And then you would be the third one that will swim with us. So I did that. And it was an amazing trip. It's like, I think it was like 9 kilometers per day, something like that. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. And I remember there, she was like, hey, how's photography going? Like surfing photography, because I already had told her like, yeah, I'm trying to get into, surf photography. And she's like, well, if you're serious, you can come and practice with me next winter. And that's when it, it's like, it clicked. I mean, then she was still, like one of the most famous surfers in the world. I mean, she still is, but, she was at the peak, and, Alana Blanchard was still, surfing also competitively and all that. So I was like, this is a opportunity of a lifetime. Like, what girl from Mexico City has this opportunity to practice with two of the best, surfers in the world right now? So I came back to Mexico City, and that's when I was like, okay, I need to save money, buy my camera, like a real camera, and just go for it, try. So that's when I did it. I like sold my car, bought my camera, water housing, a ticket to Hawaii, and went back for the winter season. And I guess that's when everything started.
Was that the winter of 13 or 14?
Yes, I think that was the winter of 13.
Incredible. So you're out really in your first winter on the North Shore, and as everyone who's probably listening knows, the North Shore is just ground zero for heaviness on land and sea. And you're where were you staying, and whereabouts?
So okay, so she invited me to go to Kauai for a month. Well, to practice with her. So I stayed with my friend's family in the North Shore of Kauai, and then I would go shoot sometimes with her, but then I would also shoot a lot with all the bodyboarders. Like, I would hang out more with the bodyboarders. And I think that gave me, it's like this solid ground for swimming in bigger waves, and just pushing myself more, because it was a bunch of guys. I was like, I cannot complain. If I complain, they're not going to invite me anymore. Like, I'm not going to be the little cry girl that doesn't want to swim out. So it helped me to push my limits. And then after that month, I was like, I think I can swim at pipeline, already, because I've been swimming in pretty heavy waters. So that was my goal for my first winter. I was like, okay, after Kauai, I can go back to Oahu for another month, and maybe I can swim at pipeline. And I remember I did. It wasn't obviously a big day, but I did it. I was like, oh, okay, I can keep pushing myself more. So my goal for next winter was to swim, it's bigger, stay better, and all that. And yeah, it was just like a little snowball rolling down, and like, okay, I can do this better. I can improve myself. And it was like a competition with myself, to just push myself to do bigger surf, better waves, better photos, of course.
And you keep bringing up the word competitive and swimming, and I myself am a big swimmer. I love swimming, and I love everything about it. You know, it's static water. It's in a pool. It's nothing but you. And the swimming culture that everyone who does swimming competitively shares is this competitive seed. Can you kind of talk about like how that was planted in you at an early age with your swimming, and how a little bit about your swimming career? I'm interested in that, and how that kind of, you know, brought you even to this moment of time of who you are.
Yeah. Well, I started very young, 7 years old, and it was interesting because at the beginning I didn't like competing. I had no desire to compete. I loved training. I remember we did double sessions. Like my mom would wake me up at 4:30 in the morning when I was 8 years old, and she's like, "Are you sure you want to go swim right now?" She didn't want to take me. And I was like, "Yes, mom, I'm ready." So she would take me before school and then after school. And then it kind of shifted, when I was like in my teenage years. Then I didn't want to train, but I loved competing, that adrenaline you are feeling before, they say go, or like, they shoot. It just, I lived for that, I love that adrenaline like rush before every contest. But of course, in my teenage years, training wasn't the best. I mean, seeing my friends every day, yes, but and then it just that I think it trains you to be disciplined, consistency, and all that. And then just push yourself, even when you feel like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But all that, all those years of doing it, as because it was not like, oh, today I don't feel like swimming anymore, I won't go. If not, we're kicked out of, the team. So I think that brought me up to the point that I am today, because I mean, surfing, photography and all that is not easy either. You have injuries and you're sacrificing so much. But I think all that mindset that I grew up in this swimming environment, are like the competitiveness of it and training for that, it helped me, or it built me onto who I am today.
Do you still swim laps today?
Not really. Now I get bored. I love the ocean way more. It's just, I think I hate routine. It's like doing the same every single day. And so the ocean gives you that, like everything is different from one day to the other. It depends on the weather. It depends on, it's like so many factors. And it makes it different every day. And I love that newness of the day. But actually I have a contest, the first contest I've had in a long time, next Saturday, and I'm doing an open water swimming race with some of my former swim mates. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. So I have been training in the pool for that a bit.
Excellent. So kind of when you're in Mexico City, that's the kind of time when you'll go back to the pool and just stay wet on a daily basis and keep your shoulders right.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, even if I don't like it as much, but I cannot just forget about swimming. It's like I have to be swimming constantly to be ready for when the season starts. So I do go into the pool and train a little bit, so I can be ready for next season.
What's the swimming race, out of curiosity? What do you, where is it? What are you doing?
It's in La Paz, in Baja California, in Mexico, and it is 35K between four. It's kind of relay. So everyone swims. It's like half an hour. You swim for half an hour, and then you rest an hour and a half while the others swim. Then you swim again half an hour, and you finish. Well, the team finishes when you complete the 35K.
Sounds super exciting. Well, I wish you good luck with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So a lot of your photos, especially at Porto, just seem like, all right, you're in like a very risky situation. It's a beach break and it's super heavy. Contrasting that with a spotlight pipeline where you can kind of take shelter in a channel, shoot with more of a zoom lens. Kind of explain to us the nuance between those two environments. You know, pipeline is very scary and heavy, and you can die there. It's not like it's easy to sit in a channel because it's moving around. Kind of break that down for us.
Yeah, I remember. So I remember my friend telling me, my bodyboarder friend telling me, like, I told him the first time, yeah, you should come with me to Puerto. And he was like, no, I'm not ready for that. I'm like, why? You surf every day at Pipeline. Why are you not ready for that? You know, it's like, how is that so different? And I remember he told me something, and with the years, I was like, oh, he was so right. He told me, is like, Puerto demands so much physically from you. You know, it's probably not as dangerous, the fact that if you get pounded, you're just gonna hit the sand, even though it's hard. Don't get me wrong, you know, but it might be less shallow than Pipeline. And if you hit sand, you don't hit the reef, and you don't get stuck in the caves at Pipeline, you know, where you said you can die. But it does demand you more physically, because you have to be in better shape for swimming, because there's not a set channel. The channel moves with every set. So you have to be swimming constantly. And I proved that, you know, it's like, I remember at Pipeline, I could be swimming for 4 hours and then 5 hours, you know, it's same in Tahiti, you know, in Chopu. And you're fine. Of course you get tired, you know, but it's not in Puerto, a good solid day. You cannot swim for more than 2 hours, you know, your body is completely exhausted, or at least I can't, you know, because you are swimming constantly. In the other places where you have a channel, you can rest it, you know, you can float for a little bit, you can rest, relax for a bit, and then when you feel ready enough, you keep swimming, you know. In Puerto, you have to be swimming constantly, because the currents get in your way and they start dragging you to one side, it keep throwing you, you know, far out to sea. So that keeps you on your toes. You literally have to be kicking all the time, moving all the time, sprinting, not even to pass a set, but just to move away from the currents. So that's the difference, you know, like it demands you so much energy. And then also, if, you know, you cannot really read where the set is gonna come, it's a little harder. So you have to position yourself. And that's what makes it, in my opinion, so different and difficult at the same time, you know?
Well said. Such great advice. Now, when you're at a place like Porto for an extended period of time and it's not going off the entire time, how do you fuel your artistic soul, your aesthetic sensibilities? Do you venture off and shoot other kinds of water? Do you shoot water at a different magnitude? What's kind of your call in that regard?
After a while, you do get tired. You know, it's like the first time, like, oh, this is fun. Finally, some small waves where you can relax and get some fun, you know, different shots. And then it's fun for the first 2 days, 3 days, but then you get tired of it, or at least I do. But that's when I actually get to surf. So I wasn't, you know, a born surfer. So for me, I learned to surf when I was an adult. And I don't do it constantly or as often as I would like. Because when the waves are good, I shoot. So I never got to be that good. And so when the waves are small, that's when I take advantage of it and surf. And then there's other breaks, you know, I love Barra de la Cruz, which is, I don't know, 2-hour drive from Puerto. And then I go there, I surf, I have fun for me, you know, sometimes it's like, okay, I'm happy there's no waves, you know, I don't have to think about working or shooting, and I get to surf a little bit. So that's when it's my turn to surf and enjoy.
When you do surf, do you love this set aside, you know, the professionality of it all, and just take it down to the act? Do you love the surfing more or the taking of the pictures more?
Interesting. I get very frustrated with the surfing part because, you know, I don't surf for a year and then I surf for 3 days and I'm like, oh, I wish I was better, you know? But I do enjoy a lot surfing. The thing is, I do experience more adrenaline while shooting. So I like shooting more sometimes in big waves because even though it's more like a work, but I am feeling the adrenaline when I surf, you know, because I'm not surfing huge waves. I don't get to feel that much of adrenaline. You know, I guess if I was a better surfer, I would like surfing bigger waves, but I've never got to that point.
Do you aspire to increase your wave size?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think I need to get better at it first, you know, practice more so I can surf bigger.
Yeah, I would just think, you know, you being someone who can put yourself in those positions, you've had so much experience in big waves, just being in the water, that it probably would come naturally to you. Um, but my next kind of place I want to go with you is to Tahiti. Your pictures from Tahiti are incredible. Kind of let us know how you got there and what that experience was like.
For me, that place is like, I guess my favorite place in the world. It's so magical. And then I went there 2017. I don't even remember how or like what made me go there. I do have friends there. I like met them before. Again, bodyboarders. I don't know. I feel like I just like my core group of friends were bodyboarders, and I guess through the bodyboarders from Hawaii that I met the ones in Tahiti. And so I remember they used to come a lot to Hawaii in the winters, and that's when I met them. And like, oh, you should come. You love here. And so I ended up going, and they were right. I loved it. And I think it's more just the whole community, you know, how happy they are, welcoming. And I mean, of course, the wave is amazing, but I feel the people is what makes you love that place. You know, the people are amazing. And yeah, I loved it. And like I said, it's just a magical way and a perfect way. You know, it's just, it breaks all the time in the same place. You have the channel, then it's a color of water that is just insane. You know, it's like crystal clear blue water, barrels that can, you know, it's like, I was talking to a friend yesterday and he was saying, yeah, even when there's onshore winds, the wave still breaks so perfectly. You know, it's like, yeah, if you have a good direction of swell, you'll have amazing waves. It doesn't matter if there's wind or there's no wind. It's just perfect. So very like photo aesthetic, you know, it's just insane. I love it. And there's so many waves too, you know, it's not just Chopo, like so many waves around there. Even in the other islands, it's just, yeah.
Can you expand a little bit more on this water from Tahiti? Because it is, I keep hearing it is so special. From your aesthetic sensibilities, what was that like when you first got to put your camera in there and grab it?
Well, first of all, you get there on boats. You know, I remember I swam once, but it's like a 30-minute swim to the line, you know, to the line of where it is, because it's outside. It's not on the beach, so it's in the outside reef. And I think that's what keeps the water so clean. And of course, you're in the middle of the ocean. You know, there's no, I don't know, big continents around. And it's just like, it's a shelf where the water hits, and just even seeing it from the boat is amazing, because at least me, I'm used to see beach break, you know, and you used to see the water come to the sand and to like the beach. And here it's just, you're out there in the ocean, you know, surrounded by water, and all of a sudden it's just water in another step, you know, it's like higher up from the rest of the water. For me, that was trippy, you know, it's like, I've never seen this before. And how all of a sudden the wave forms, you know, because you have two levels of water, you know, it's literally like a step, and then water is higher, you're in the same ocean as the other water, and that's when the wave obviously forms, because it's hitting, you know, the reef. But it's just amazing to see it all from the water. For me, that was very trippy at the beginning. I've never seen something like this, you know, and you see like kind of like a horseshoe and how it goes around it. And it's not just like a straight lines, you know, it's a horseshoe that surrounds the reef, and then it breaks and it comes like, you know, kind of in like half a circle. And it was just, yeah, very trippy and amazing to see at the same time. And of course, my feeling was like, I want to be there. You know, it's like when I see these things, I don't want to just admire it from the sidelines. I want to be inside. You know, it's like, no, I want to be inside there and feel that energy. You know, it's like, I feel like feeling the water and the energy and just all of it just gets you excited about it. It's so much different than just sitting on the boat, even though you're kind of seeing the same thing, you know, but then when you're in the water, you're feeling it as well.
What was your lens of choice there?
I've shot with a 24 to 85, and I think I also shot with a 70 to 200. But I think, yeah, a 50 for me is mostly, in most of the cases, I like 50. You know, I like to portray what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling. And I think that is the one that captures it more realistically. You know, because you can shoot with a, which I never did, but with the wide angle and all that, and you get different, you know, feelings, and you're showing something different. But I liked, you know, my viewers to see exactly what I'm seeing and to experiencing what I'm experiencing. And I think that's why 50 is my lens of choice, or like, yeah, what I like to shoot with. It's just literally, you know, explaining to the viewer what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing.
And now, is that a fixed 50?
No, I usually do the 24 to 85 just so I have,
So
you know,
room
like,
to play with.
yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now I want to kind of go back a little bit to this bodyboarder surfer culture thing, because not many people have experience with both groups. What is kind of, do you think the major difference between these two cultures? They both play in the same arena, but I know from circumstances that they are very different people. Can you kind of?
Yes. Well, my point of view is, and it's funny because I mean, I kind of was, I would say, raised, you know, with bodyboarders, but I do shooting surfers. I think it's more aesthetically pleasing, and it just, the waves look more dramatic when they're standing, you know. But I love bodyboarders because I think they're more of a soul surfer, you know. It's just like they're more roots, and they do it more for the love and the passion of it, and I like that mentality, you know. It's just, they don't do it as much for the glory of it, you know. It's just like they are enjoying it, and they do it because they actually love it, and they don't care what other people think, you know, because of course surfers don't like bodyboarders, and you know, the other way around. But I mean, if there's not much money in surfing in general, there's definitely not money in bodyboarding now. And they still do it because they love it. And I really admire that from them. You know, they truly have a passion for it and a love for it, and they don't care what other people think. And if there's money involved, and if they're gonna be, you know, in like a cover magazine, or they're gonna make millions because they're gonna have sponsors, they just do it because they have a passion for it. And I love that, you know. It's just like, and they're, at least the ones that I know, they're very heavy, you know, they love heavy waves. They're just gnarly. So I love that. I think I admire more the bodyboarders in that aspect, even though I like taking photos of the surfers. It's weird.
Wow, that is just an incredible vision you've just given us. I love that. And it is like the bodyboarders can even get into more slabby, heavy situations, and that's kind of what they're going for. And
Exactly.
you as a water photographer naturally, you know, fit in those spots. Now you're going into the future here to Europe. How do you view your water escapades going forward? And by that I mean, how are you preparing yourself mentally to hit these beaches that you've not maybe been to before, that are going to be very heavy? And when you do so, I'm sorry for the long question. When you do so, what are kind of the things you're looking out for environmentally to keep safe but maintain your goal?
Well, first of all, I do not like cold water. And this year I went to Chile, you know, to Punta de Lobos, which is really cold water. And I must say, from the 2 weeks that I was there, I just got in the water twice. I was like, this is not worth it, you know? I went with a surfer, so she needed footage from outside anyway. So I was like, I'm happy to stay in shore, which really doesn't happen much often, you know, when there's warm water. But this time I was like, nope, I'm happy to stay outside, film from outside, you know? So that in itself, just the cold water, it's a very big step for me, and it's just something that I need to get over. And so this time that I'm going back to cold water, I'm like, okay, I need to push myself in that aspect, you know, it's like just get myself to enjoy cold water and be in this cold water, because it's just even wearing, you know, a suit that kind of restricts you a little bit, and it's more, I feel like it's more energy that you're using, you know, trying to move with all that weight on top of you and tightness. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. So I'm trying to prepare myself mentally, doing a lot of ice baths lately. Um, but yeah, so that is probably what I'm more worried about
Will you have
than anything.
a built-in hood?
Yes, I do have the built-in hood. I have the two options, you know, it's like the 4.3, which doesn't have the built-in hood, and then I have the 5.4, which does have the built-in hood.
And what are the big wave spots you're looking to hit?
So I'm gonna be working with a surfer. I think it's gonna be at A Coruña, and then I would like to see Mondaca work. I think there's another Rocaputa that I would like to see it work. And then from there, probably Nazaré if there's a big swell. I don't think I'll get in the water if there's a big swell in Nazaré, honestly. I did take the jet ski course, the rescuing and towing, 4 years ago in Portugal, Nazaré. So I would like to probably refresh that and drive more. And that's kind of like my kind of retirement plan. You know, it's like in the future, I know I cannot swim in big waves forever, and probably I have, I don't know, 8 years, 10 years max, not more, if God allows, you know, it's like I don't get injured or whatever before that. So I think kind of my retirement plan would be able to keep doing what I do from jet ski. So I wanna, yeah,
So
expand my knowledge.
Ski in position and then shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. Or have a driver, but yeah, I think I would like to drive myself and also shoot. I don't know. It's just, I think, more fun.
So you've done this before.
I've drove the jet ski. I don't do it often because I don't have a jet ski and I haven't practiced much, but I've drove jet ski before. And I've also been in, you know, behind the jet ski shooting. Yeah. And like outer reefs in Hawaii and other places. Like a lot of water moving.
How did that material come out for you? And are you shooting zoom lens in these situations?
It is hard to do longer lens because it's a lot of movement, and it's like the water moving, the jet ski moving, you know, then you are moving. Like everything has their own movements. And so when you have a long lens, it's hard to keep everything straight, especially if you're shooting video. But then it also depends on the driver. If you have a good driver, if they can get you closer, then you can have a shorter lens and it's just easier. So yeah, I think it all depends on the shooter, like the driver of the ski.
Is video, looking at your Instagram feed, it looks like it's a major component to your photography. How do you balance the two? And is one, do you like one more than the other? And kind of tell us a little bit about that.
I definitely love photos. I do not like video much. I don't really edit video much. So when I've done videos for work or something, I usually tell them, no, I don't edit unless it's very simple edits. I hate it. I hate being in front of the camera for hours on end and editing. I do not like it. You know, the whole technology thing, it's not my thing. Photos, I enjoy. You know, if I take a photo, I want to see it in post-production and like, you know, complete it. I like seeing that progression and like from the raw to, you know, edited photo. Videos, I don't. But, you know, everyone told me we are heading into that direction where photo, it's going to be, left behind, and video, it's what's coming and what you need to be doing. And even though I resisted myself for the longest time, I am doing now videos. And I think it's good, it just like gives you more opportunity to do both. But yeah, I enjoy photos for sure. That's my favorite. And videos, I just do it when, work asks for it.
On that note, business wise, what kind of how does your market look? And tell us a little bit about your business model.
Um, it's weird. I don't even know how to explain it. I do have different ways of, I guess, making money. It's like I work with surfers individually. Like, some surfers take me traveling. Like, okay, I'll pay you all the expenses. You're gonna come with me, and you're gonna shoot, all kinds of footage, photos, videos, and everything, for this amount of time. That you're gonna be traveling with me. So that's one way of doing it. And then I also do chase big swells. And if it's like an epic swell, and you have pro surfers, then you get to send your photos to magazines, to the sponsors, and then that's another way of making money. Then when I'm in Puerto, I do have private, surfing sessions when they're like, oh, I want to hire you for a couple hours. I want you to shoot for me this, I don't know, 2 hours or something like that, just video or just photo or from the water, so that's another way of doing it. Another way is during my season in Puerto, like there's a lot of surfers that go for 1 month, 2 months. And so what I do is while I'm in Puerto, I open files of all the surfers. And then at the end of the trip, I was like, hey, do you have photos of me? I'm like, yeah, I have your file here. And it depends how big of a file it is. It's like, oh, I shot him, I don't know, 5 days, or I have footage of him for, I don't know, 2 weeks. It depends on the cost. So that's another way of money. And then I also work sometimes with SoCal Surfer, which is a YouTube video. So I film for him, and then that's another way of making money. And then I do sometimes for brands, it's like bikini brands or product brands that hire me, is like, okay, we need this shoot, and I do. And of course, those are the ones that make the most money, in the least amount of time. And the beginning, I wasn't so happy about shooting models and stuff, but I do love working now especially for, I don't know, bikini brands, because it's just mostly surfers that sometimes they get in water, sometimes they just, I like shooting anything beach, it's like outside the water, but close to the ocean. So now I'm enjoying that a lot, working with brands. So that's another way of making money.
And I see some very beautiful pictures behind you, and they're mounted on the wall. How do you view selling pieces for wall installations? Is that an avenue that you are in?
Yes, that's another one. I forgot about that. I do sell my prints as well. I haven't set an online store, which I need to, but I've just been putting it off. But I do have a lot of people that, inquire directly to me. So I send them the options, the sizes, the mediums, it's like, I don't know, in acrylic or aluminum or canvas or paper photos. And I do sell that, and I shoot mostly US and Mexico. That's where my clients are. But I can do worldwide. So yeah, also my print shop.
Awesome. And if anyone wants to purchase your work, how do they go about doing that?
I do have a website. So most of the people just contact me directly through my website, and then the rest also through Instagram. Like, hey, I want to purchase some photos, and I just deal directly with them.
Excellent. And I'll put all those links in the description below. I have a few more questions. Again, thank you for your time. What is the most intense situation you've been in, and can you tell us that story?
In the water, right?
Yes.
Probably the time I broke my knee. It was 4 years ago. No, wow, more. It's been like 6 years ago. It was at Puerto Escondido, and it was a big day. That's when I realized, even though I wanted to swim big waves, my body wasn't ready for that, and there's limitations, and it's okay. Now I don't swim that big, but yeah, it was definitely a big day, probably 15 feet, 16 feet, I don't know. And it was a day that there was a lot of current, so I was kind of tired by, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And when I was coming in, when it gets big at Puerto for swimming in and out, you go a little bit closer to the rocks and more towards the where the boats are. You don't swim straight to the lineup, so you have to kind of like swim or paddle around. And so I was coming in, so I did the same, like I start swimming away from the lineup and just getting closer to the rocks. And I thought I had timed it right, but I definitely didn't. So I start swimming into the shore, and all of a sudden this huge wave builds, and it's very shallow there. So, you think all these things in split second, it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, do I swim, to the bottom? But then it's super shallow, so it might just crash on top of me. Do I swim, to the shore, or do I swim out in the ocean? And I also was like, I don't think I'll make much progress in 1 second, so it just doesn't matter. At the end, I just thought about curling up in a little ball and letting the explosion like push me to the shore. And I think I was too close to it, and the wave was too big, that even if I did curl up in a ball, I hold my camera to my belly, and then I don't know, I hold my nose. I thought I was like, well, maybe if I'm like underwater for a while, it just saved me some oxygen, but I should have held my legs instead. So when it like exploded, it hit me, and it was literally an explosion. So it opened my, my arms, legs, and everything. And then it popped my knee to the side. And then the MCL, ACL, and meniscus tore. And it was like instant pain. I knew something was wrong. So I like tried waving for help, but no one would see me. So I was like, okay, I think I'm just gonna swim by myself. And start swimming. And I remember I couldn't stand up, because I didn't have any strength on my leg once I wasn't like by the sand. And I remember I like waved at these people that was passing by, like tourists, and they waved at me thinking I was saying hi. I was like, no, help, but they wouldn't hear me, So at the end I was like, okay, fine, I'll just get out by myself because no one is helping. So I remember I literally, like climbed like a dog in my forest, finally in the sand, and I just jumped all the way to the hotel that I was staying at. And it was definitely stressing, because the first wave hit, and I remember I had to like get 2 more on the head after that with one leg and one arm, because you're holding the camera on the other hand. But yeah, well, finally they took me to the hospital, and yeah, it was complete, surgery. They had to put, build everything back together, and it took a while to do, it's 2 months to be able to start walking again, and long recovery, very painful. But then 8 months, I think I was to my 80%. And then in a year, I was back, to my 100%. But that did affect me mentally. After that, I think I never swam as big as that. And I am more conscious now. Before I was like, whatever, I didn't care about anything. And after that, I was like, okay, is it worth it? Like, even if I get injured, will it be worth it or not? But yeah, it definitely changes your mindset.
When you were in the heart of that pain for that 8 months, was there ever a question that you would go back to it?
Yeah, at the beginning, I was like, well, I even walked in, am I gonna even be able to be back in the water? But the water therapy is the best. So I remember it's like the first things that I was able to do even before walking. It was just getting in the pool, and it felt amazing. Of course, it's very frustrating, you know, and especially for someone that is active. It's just a lot of crazy thoughts in your head, like, oh, I hate this. Oh, you know, it's like depression, everything, because you're not even able to do anything by yourself at the beginning. So yeah, it was scary, and things that you could have done differently and all those things. But I remember once I was able to, so that happened in July. And I remember that winter I went to Hawaii. And I remember there was this epic day at Pipeline, and I wanted to be in the water, but at the same time I was like, no, I'm not ready, you know. And someone's like, no, just swim out. There's the lifeguards and the jet skis. And for me, always my motto has been like, if you cannot get yourself in and out of the ocean by yourself, especially after this, you know, because I was like, I was hurt, injured, and no one came to save me, you know. It's like in the water, you're by yourself. And also, I don't think it's wise, or even, I don't know, it's not, you're not being thoughtful of others if you're like, oh, whatever, they're gonna come save me, you know. It's like, you cannot be putting other people, even if they're lifeguards, at risk because of you, you know. It's like, they are there just in extreme cases, and like, if there is not other way. But so if I'm not at my 100%, I don't like swimming out. So I remember, even though I was already swimming, I wasn't feeling ready to be swimming at, I don't know, Second Reef Pipeline, you know, and like perfect, epic, huge pipeline. So I was like, no, even though I'm dying to be out there, I'm not gonna be swimming out there, you know, because I wasn't, and so something can happen, and I'm not gonna be at my 100% to swim in and out of the water. So it was a little frustrating, but at the same time, I was like, okay, eventually I'll get there, you know. And it took me a year to be able to swim back at, I don't know, Puerto, when it's big and it's good. But I think at that point I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get there, you know, even it's months away, I'm gonna get good to the point that I can be swimming again, like the old times.
So you spent the winter in Hawaii and you weren't able to go in the water. Do I have that right?
I was swimming out, but it's just not when it was huge and crazy.
So you were doing some work.
Yes, yeah. So I was still swimming, you know, like I remember I swam at Waimea at some point, you know. It's just like when I knew it was huge, and even at Pipeline, but when it was really, really big and gnarly, I would just, you know, wait wait for me to be better, and again at my 100.
Can you touch a little bit upon this world? You know, they call it a man's world. You're a female surf photographer. There's a handful of you women who do it. Krista Funk has been on the program. She's an amazing female surf photographer. I'm sure you've come across her in your work. How is it from a man's perspective? It almost looks like an asset if you are at the caliber you are. What is your perspective of being a female in this egocentric man's world of surfing and then surf photography?
Everyone always asks that, and they're like, oh, are they nice? I'm like, yeah, I think it's like you said, it's even better, you know, because you're just one of the few. Like sometimes at Pipeline it would just be me and Krista, you know, and Puerto, I'm the only one sometimes. So it's just it's not bad actually. I think the surf photographers, even the surfers, respect you more for that, you know. And when you prove that you're at that level, they take you seriously. You don't really have to prove anything to no one, you know. It's like your work does it for you. And so I think you definitely get respected, and at some point I feel like they see you as their equal, you know. So I don't think I've ever had a problem with that, with the surfers, or, you know. In Mexico, there is more of a machismo culture. So I think you push some buttons sometimes, you know, when you're like out there and someone else is not, and they're guys. But I think that's more in, you know, this environment where we grew up as like men and women are, more of a different, but in other parts of the world, I feel that. Um, so yeah, I don't think is bad thing from that point of view. What I've seen, it's a little harder. I think it's more with the brands. They always just call you, which can be a good thing, because then you have more work and they probably won't give it to a man, but it's just like they just want you for women's work. It's like, hey, we need a photo shoot for women, or like they contact you like, hey, we need photos from a women photographer to women surfers. So it's just a lot of just channeling you in this like women's section, I guess. And it's hard because there's not many big wave surfers that are women, or like I love barrels. There's not many surfers that are women that surf this type of waves that I like. So I think that is what I've seen. It's a little harder, to like you sell your work, not just for women. But besides that, and also like the trips, the surf trips, like usually when they want to send a bunch of guys on a surf trip with a photographer, they send a guy because obviously it's easier for them to travel with, a bunch of guys than all guys and one girl. So that's the only thing I see. But besides that, I think as long as your work speaks for yourself, I don't think there's any, problems.
That's very interesting how you speak of the individual being 100, but this corporate world being as such. And I hear the same stories from women who are in the corporate world speaking the same kind of vibes. So it's about right. Now you've put out some really great educational content on YouTube that it looks totally professionally produced. I don't know if you produced it yourself, but it's awesome educational content for aspiring surf photographers. And I urge everyone to go check that out if it is something that you aspire to get into, if you're listening. Now, what if you could narrow this down, what kind of advice would you give to anyone who aspires to get into the water with a water housing and do water photography?
Well, first of all, I've always said that you have to have that passion. It's like, I mean, mostly everything in life. If you are not crazy about it and you don't have passion about it, it's going to show in your work. But I feel like photography, since it's an art, I feel like all kinds of arts, you are portraying and you're showing everyone else what you're passionate about. So you do have to have that passion for it to show in your work. So definitely I would say you have to be passionate about it. And just, of course, there's going to be things that are going to come in your way, and just keep going at it. It's like you cannot just bail whenever things get hard. And there's going to be a lot of sacrifices and everything, but the core of it is just to push yourself to just jump all those, barriers and stick to it. So I think it's just follow your dreams, follow your passion, be passionate about it, and don't give up, because of course there's going to be a lot of things that like, oh, this comes up and that comes up. But if you do not give up on it, then, you're going to achieve that. So, and don't let anyone tell you you cannot do it. I think that the whole, what you were saying, like, oh, but, you're in a man's world and all that. Who's telling me I cannot do that? It's like, why would I listen to someone that will tell me not? Like, if you're sure about it, just go for it. Don't listen to negative, words or thoughts of anyone else. So I think it's just, yeah, if you go wholeheartedly, you're gonna be good at it.
Great advice. And this is kind of my final question, a macro one. What is your meaning of life?
Ah, that's a good one. Um, I believe in God, and I do believe we're here in this world for a reason. God put us in this world for a reason. And I think that the meaning of life has come to this earth to uh, make a decision of where are we going to spend eternity. In my case, I know I'm going to heaven, and it's not because I'm being good or not good. So I think we're here on this planet to help everyone find that truth and their meaning of where are they heading to in eternity. So yeah.
Epic. Maria Fernanda, your insight today has been incredible and very special. And thank you for spending your special time with us and enlightening us to what you've done and seen, and the great work that's ahead of you. We wish you the best of luck, and I really urge everyone to go check her stuff out on her Instagram feed and just see where she's going and where she's come from, because it's amazing. So Maria, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was amazing to talk to you. And yeah, I will be happy to hear myself talking to you.
Well, I'll let you know when I put it up. And also, before I let you go, uh, you have three names, and I only referred to you as Maria Fernanda. But I keep reading also Bastidas. Is that right?
That's my last name.
Okay, so excuse
Maria
me.
Fernanda is my first name.
Okay. Now I understand. Should we replay the beginning and I say your full name, or how would you like to?
No, we're good. We're good. I like it.
All right. Well,
So Maria Fernanda is a compound name, kind of like Mary Kate, or so.
okay, because I did listen to your material on other media before this, and they left out the Bastidas, and I said, well, I'm just going to go with what's been done, but I'll leave this in the section so we're clear on the full name.
No worries. Yeah, I love Maria Fernanda, and the fact that people just know me like that. There's not many Maria Fernandas in other than Mexico, so it's good. I like it.
Only one for sure. Well, again, thank you very much, and I look forward to following you and seeing how your European trip goes this winter.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day, Maria.